All right, welcome back to the channel. I'm Nate Klein, and as always, I'm thrilled to be able to introduce you to and connect you to amazing people all over the world. And today's guest is somebody who I met a few months ago, and as soon as I heard his story of how he got onto this fruitarian lifestyle and path, I was blown away, and I was so excited to one day have him on the channel. And today is that day, so I'm really excited to introduce you to Hitesh Mehndiratta. I hope I got that right, Hitesh.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Hi, everyone. So I'm Hitesh. I'm from India, and I've been on a raw vegan journey for over a year, and 80% fruits for the past 3.5, 4 years. And I started this journey because of my health. A few years ago, I was suffering from so many health issues. As I've told you, the list went on: chronic constipation, IBS, hemorrhoids, chronic sinusitis, eczema, low confidence, low energy, back pain, frequent navel displacement, and a few other, health issues. So I had like 10 plus chronic issues at one point, and I had tried everything: the allopathic route, the Ayurveda, homeopathy, all the conventional route that everybody takes. I tried everything, and nothing worked out. And what I realized is that our so-called experts are not really experts. Majority of them are formally miseducated. Everyone is working on just suppression of symptoms. If you ask them deep questions, they don't know how the body works, why we should do what we do. So one thing I realized is all the answers would be in nature. And when I started looking, when I started observing, the first thing I realized is that we are not biologically adapted to consume meat. We don't have any nails to teeth to kill an animal. We have zero hunting instinct on our body. And if we go to any butcher shop to buy meat, it's a very disgusting smell. We have to cook it, add salt, season spices, all kind of crap. And if you look at the ethical part of it, I can guarantee you that at least 90% of the people who are consuming meat, they cannot kill an animal with their own hands. So this is what I realized, like why should I give money to somebody else to do it for me just for 10 minutes of pleasure, taste, and luxury? And it all made sense to me. So I stopped consuming it. Then I realized all the horrors of poultry, dairy industry. Then I turned vegan. I stopped consuming all animal products. And then I started eating plant-based foods, saw tiny improvements with my health. And I came across a book called Miracles of Raw Food by an Indian doctor, and I read it, and it made sense to me. It opened up my brain, like it just switched on the light bulb for me, and I started eating more raw foods. And then I came across John Rose on YouTube. He was all about juice fasting. I loved his way of talking. Just there was no uh, plan. It was all spontaneous. His videos, whatever he talked about, shirtless in Texas. I just loved it. And I did a juice fast after listening to him. I did a 5 months of juice feasting. 5 months, I stayed on just juices, but unfortunately, it didn't help me. I mean, I didn't get symptoms during my juice fast, but as soon as I broke my fast, I got, all of my symptoms. And then I did release a lot of waste. So it was an experiment that I did in 2023, just for me to understand that whether we really have this much undigested food that everybody talks about. And yes, I saw some of it came out, and it made me confidence that yes, if I have to get healthy, I need to be, on this life diet and lifestyle for sure.
Mhm.
So I was still a little bit struggling with symptoms, and I was eating primarily raw after my juice fast. And 2024, I ate mostly raw. Again, I saw tiny improvements with my health, and I was working as well in the IT industry. So, I planned to quit my job as well. So now it came 2025. I quit my job in March. Then I went to a retreat in Thailand, and I met Jeff last year in the month of May, and then we discussed a lot about water fasting. I heard his story, and we became good friends. And then as soon as I came back home from Thailand, my body just crashed. I wasn't digesting food, and it was like perfect opportunity for me to do a water fast. So last year in July, under Jeff's guidance, I did a 19-day water fast, and it was such a transformative experience for me because I had never fasted for this long. Max to max, I had gone for just 5 days. And what I saw came out of my body after the fast, it was, amazing. So one fast I did last year, 19 days. Another fast I did this year in April, like 2 months ago. That was 20 days, so two long water fasts, and I've been on a raw vegan for more than a year. And majority of my health issues have been reversed. Sinusitis and absorption, which is part of digestion, there is around 40 to 50% improvement. So I've started coaching people as well. I run my own Instagram channel, and you guys probably know me if somebody's is my viewer who watches this by Fruitful Calisthenics. So I love calisthenics. I love playing tennis, and I love eating raw. So that's mostly about me. I think I've given you
Yeah, it's
majority of the
incredible.
things.
I mean, it's an amazing start. It's just there's so many issues that you were dealing with. Like, how emotionally, how were you dealing with that? Back, if you could take us back to that time when you were really struggling. And I can't imagine that any of those things would have been pleasant to deal with. So emotionally, it must have been taking a toll on you as well.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Let me tell you about some of the symptoms that I dealt with, how painful it was, and emotionally it was such a wreck for me. So I would get constipated for 3 to 4 days, multiple times. In my journey, I would be so much bloated and backed up with 15, 16 meals, even if I was eating all fruits, and I would get uncontrollable episodes of diarrhea for multiple days. It was not a pleasant situation for anybody who was around me because obviously I would get frustrated. I wouldn't want to talk to anybody. But the worst symptom that was for me was my sinusitis. It would get so inflamed, and I remember a few days, I would just wake up, I would blow my nose, and in the sink I would see all blood. There was so
Wow.
much dryness, dehydration, and if my migraines were triggered because of my sinuses, it would last for a few days, headaches. So it was not a pleasant situation. And if I have to be completely honest, there was a dark phase in my life where for a month I had suicidal thoughts. Like I would go to the bed in the night and I would pray that to the God, just somehow make an arrangement so that I don't get up in the morning tomorrow, with all this pain. Um, Thank God, like I mean, I remained patient and I, fasted and all these things. But yeah, man, emotionally it was such a wreck for me. I didn't like meeting people. My even talking to my parents, I would be in my room just on my phone because I just didn't want to deal with any emotions and anybody asking me any questions. I would pretend to be healthy, that I have no health issues, etc. because I didn't want anybody to question me.
Mhm.
So that's pretty much it. Back in like 3, 4 years ago.
That's awful. Like, to go through that would have been terrible. And then, so you found the veganism more for ethical reasons, would you say? And the health was a bonus, or was it a combination of both health and ethical? Is it why you went down the vegan route in the first place?
It was actually the opposite. The first part was health, but when I understood the ethical part, it gave me more confidence. And it was just an overnight transition for me because one thing I realized is that if I have to learn something in life, I have to keep my mind open. So I just kept my mind open. And when I learned that why we shouldn't consume animal proteins, and it is the number one reason for all chronic health issues, immediate, like overnight, I stopped consuming all animal products. And when I learned about the ethical part of it, then it just boosted my confidence more. And it was like, there is no way in this world I'm going back to this lifestyle. I'm eating something which is coming from animals because of the torture and the harm that we do
Mhm.
to these sentient beings.
And when you went then to raw veganism, is that when you started to see some? You said some small benefit. There were some small results that you were starting to see. Is that from raw veganism, or was that from veganism in general?
That was from veganism only. But when I went to raw veganism, actually, it was raining hell on me, man, with all the symptoms. It didn't work out at all. I didn't know what to do because, again, it was new for me. I didn't know about 80-10-10 at that time or what to follow. I was just eating a lot, like even just to suppress my symptoms. I was eating so much after every 2 hours. Probably for a month, I ate like 8 kilo of fruits almost every day. I would be bloated. Probably that's why I got these many symptoms because I was overeating. So in the beginning, it was very discomforting. I had no idea what I'm doing.
Mm. And what about in terms of then you obviously the way the universe works, you met Jeff, you were introduced to the world of fasting, And then when you went back home, you said that that's when you thought it was the perfect time to actually start putting into practice what you just learned. But to go from a 5 day to a 19 day, tell me about that, because I've done a 3 day and I've done a 5 day, and I can't even imagine what it would be like on a 19. So that would have been a bit of a shock to yourself, like mentally, emotionally, everything. It would have been quite an experience.
Right. Yeah, definitely. For sure. But I had no other option. I realized that if I want to be healthy, there is no other option. I mean, my body is not accepting food, and I have been dealing with issues for so many years. So I had no other option, and I knew that 5 days isn't gonna help because I've done it in the past. Sure, for a few days after your fast, you feel good, but your symptoms come back, when you are eating all the time. So what I did initially was, of course, I knew that about fasting, there are two things. One is physical and the emotional.
Mm.
So my goal was just to deal with the physical first. I didn't want to deal with my emotions, so I just kept using my mobile phone just to distract myself. So day 13, 14, I was just on my bed and using my phone all the time. But after my, 14, 15 days, I relied not on my electronic devices. I would go out, and sit for some time. Then I started, having some emotional detoxification, what you can say. I released some of the stuff, like I used to get bullied when I was a kid. So one day, I think I told you as well when we were doing sauna, right, in
Yeah.
Bali. So one day what happened was suddenly, I just forgave everybody. I was just sitting, and all the old memories came up of, of the past, me getting bullied. And I don't know what happened. Suddenly I started crying and I just forgave everybody. Whoever did whatever to me, I was like, it's okay. It's part of life. And I cannot blame the individuals. It's just about awareness. And I'm sure if I meet them now, they would be different person as well, and they would realize that the things that I did in the past were not good. So it's all right. And yeah, and then I realized is that working on the mind and the emotions is also, such an important thing. So after my fast, I started spending more time with myself and not distracting, and then I realized a lot of my old patterns. I was living with my family. Then I moved to southern India last year. It's a tropical region, and I live alone now. And the primary reason was because I wanted to live my life according to, me, with no distractions, and I wanted to, eat good quality fruits and be in nature. And I don't want to be in any cold weather, so I chose this place. And since then, it has been working pretty well. I can sit with myself. I can deal with my emotions, and I've been giving my, all the pillars of health my topmost priority.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. There must have been a catalyst though on like day 13 or 14. There must have been something that sort of came to you to tell you to get off those devices, because distraction, like we're distracted constantly all day, every day in our lives. We've got work and we've got kids, but these electronic devices, kids are on there as young as 2 or 3 years old. They're going to be so conditioned to feeling like they need something all the time, which we never had when we were growing up. But it's still a problem. These things are so addictive. So how did you figure that out, that you needed to disconnect from that and go and spend more time in nature?
Um, it's a good question, man. The thing is, of course, talking with Jeff helped. He motivated me a lot. But one thing is, when you're met with truth, it's really hard to escape from it. It produces more conflict in life. And truth being, I've been following Jiddu Krishnamurti, J Krishnamurti on YouTube for quite some time. And his videos are all about meditation, spirituality, but has a very, a different approach. Because conventionally, when we talk about understanding ourselves, we see all the conventional meditation techniques that sit in a cross-legged posture with your eyes closed, or chant some mantras, etc., all these things. But these are all just, again, ways to distract yourself. You are just practicing something in hope, with hope to achieve something. Like, for example, you're preparing for an exam and you will get your results, and then it's like a static procedure that you do. But life is dynamic. There's nothing static. You are not going to achieve something. So I was met with truth all the time, and it's easy to distract yourself when you are eating. So when I
Mm,
was fasting, I would constantly get thoughts about that the life that we live is a mediocre life. And I was getting reminded all the time. So I don't want to live this life of constant pleasure, constant pain, constant worry, anxiety, and how long can I distract myself? And suddenly something happened. It was like a burning sensation, a burning desire from inside. It was like, stop it. Don't do all this stupid stuff. Like a light just came from inside, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna spend time as much as with myself as much as I can. And what's the worst that could happen? Like it's just fear that comes up to the mind. And I just did it. Then it would be like 2, 3 hours I would spend outside. um, Still, it was pretty hard. I would say working on the mind, the emotional aspect is the most difficult thing. It still is today. I do fall back to my old patterns. I'm not perfect, but again, I get back myself up. If I feel like I'm distracting myself, I have this awareness now. I can see that okay, I have distracted myself. Now let's stop doing this and just be more present. So
I think
it's
that's
a
a pretty key. That's a
practice.
pretty key thing, isn't it? That awareness. You need to be very aware. You need to have that consciousness, that level of consciousness to actually pull yourself out of it.
Absolutely. And I heard Djokovic in an interview recently, and the interviewer was asking him about the mental aspect of his game. That how do you pull yourself back when you're down love 40 or when you're down with a set and you're about to lose a game? And he was like, it takes time. And when I realized this, that I'm being negative about myself, I take a deep breath, and this awareness automatically pulls you back. But that only comes when you're being present with yourself.
Mm.
Basically, it's like a choiceless situation where you're not choosing to not be distracted. It just happens automatically because your mind is in that state. But it takes a long time, and I'm nowhere near perfect. I make a lot of mistakes. I still watch some content on YouTube which I shouldn't watch, but still, I'm happy how far I've come, and I know I'm on the right track.
And it's always, it's always about getting a little bit better every day as well. Like every day that we learn, we grow, we're constantly striving for better when you have that awareness. But I guess when you don't have that awareness, you're stuck in that grind and you're doing the same things, that you're repeating the same patterns every day. So I think that's something to be really conscious of. You had a really good. I had a look through your YouTube, and you had a really good quote on there that facing loneliness is how you actually meet yourself. So a lot of people, I don't think, would understand that concept of meeting yourself. Like who they are at their core. So what do you mean by that, and how has loneliness helped you sort of really understand who you are?
Okay. I appreciate the research that you've done, man. So yeah, I really like this quote. It's a fact that we have been distracted since childhood. We are heavily conditioned by our parents, by our ancestors, and the human consciousness has been polluted. And some of it is our fault of all the things that we have done since childhood, and some of it isn't because we are all, one whole consciousness, and everybody is just polluting when they are, doing the things that they shouldn't do. So what I mean by that is facing loneliness is how you face yourself. There are two things. One is being alone, and the other is loneliness. Being alone and loneliness are two different things.
Mm.
You can be alone, but like if you're watching TV, if you're using mobile phones, electronics, you can never really face loneliness. Loneliness is a feeling, and when you're actually lonely, the ego is a little bit afraid. It You are met with fear of loneliness. Isn't why we are distracting ourselves with so many situations, because we cannot face ourselves. We cannot face the loneliness. We need a partner in our life. Majority of us is that is what we do. We cannot face loneliness, so we get married. Most of it us do it unconsciously or because of the societal rituals, obligations, etc. Whatever it is that you study, you get a job, you marry, then children, etc. All kind of things that everybody do. So facing loneliness is you get to see your old patterns. So life is all about breaking your patterns and moving from comfort to discomfort, from certainty to uncertainty. And this can only happen when you're being present with yourself. What I mean by that is you don't have to sit in a cross like posture and do meditate, but just don't do anything. Like um, what I say to my clients as well, if you want to work on your emotional health, the best thing is put an alarm on your phone. Start with just 20 minutes, and 20 minutes you do absolutely nothing, and that will shake you up. So the thing about facing loneliness is it should happen automatically. It's like a choiceless awareness, but it can only happen when your brain is aware about the things that you were doing. And again, that can only happen when you're being present with yourself. So that's what I mean by that.
I love it. I love it. And in terms of the fasting, let's go back to your first big fast was last year, correct? So the first
Yes.
big fast, and that was 19 days. And take us through that particular experience in terms of, you said that there were things that came out of you. Like was it painful? Did it heal? What you were trying to heal. Like, talk us through your experience with that.
Okay. Sure. So when I broke, I mean, during my fast, I didn't have any particular symptoms. I was just resting. I would sleep. I would drink enough water, and then that's primarily it. I wouldn't go for walks, and most of the time I would just spend, on my bed, and I would get up just to fill up my water bottle and to go and pee. That's it. But after my fast, when I broke my fast, there was so much undigested food that came out of my bowels, and it went for around 7 to 8 weeks. In the initial days, it was so much stuff that came out, like pounds and pounds of garbage came out, and it smelled like gutter, rotten eggs, things, that probably I would have eaten a few years ago, and it was still, inside of
Wow.
me. And it was so hard to pass because it was extremely dry and dehydrated stuff. And as I started eating the stuff, less and less of it came out because most of it came out in the first 2 weeks after I broke my fast. But I started feeling a bit better with my energy, and majority of my symptoms were already reversed before my fast. The primary symptoms that I was reversing is sinusitis and my digestion. By digestion, I mean, having proper shape of stools and not seeing undigested food, blood, mucus, etc. All of these things. So after my first fast, I saw like 10-20% improvements with my sinusitis, and with my digestion again, like just around 20-30% improvement. The majority of the benefits that you see from the fast is around after 4 to 5 months. Like it takes this much time for your body to adjust. If you're doing a 21-day
Wow.
fast, then after 4 to 5 months you would see significant benefits. Like then you can compare, with your symptoms and how good do you feel now. Because
Okay.
when we are fasting and when we break our fast in between, when our body is still detoxifying heavily, so it takes a lot of time for the body to adjust because it was detoxifying. It didn't want us to break the fast, but we broke it because of our mind. We couldn't take it anymore, etc. So it takes time to adjust. And after my fast, again, just 10-20% improvement with my sinusitis and 20-30% improvement with my digestion. I was still seeing, undigested food, a little bit of blood and mucus, even after my first fast. So, but overall, energy wise, being physically active, I felt a lot better. Like I could be more physically active, and I was feeling a little bit lighter in the mind after my first fast. So in that sense, I could see the difference.
And I guess 10% doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're talking about any sort of improvement, because you were battling this for a long time, and so
Yes.
any sort of improvement, is that what made you go back this year and do another fast because you knew that it was working and that it was going to take a few extra times? You knew for sure that that was what was going to happen.
Absolutely, 100%. And actually, this year I planned to fast in July, but what happened is when we were in Bali, I was eating so much food, so much, like a lot of durians and heavy dinners. I was not able to sleep well. My mind was stimulated. I wasn't able to rest because I wasn't super healthy at that point.
Hmm.
So as soon as I came back again, my body crashed a bit. Like, I was having fatigue and I was not digesting food. And then I could have recovered from it doing a short 3 to 5 day water fast. But I talked to Jeff, and then I made a decision that, why not do a long water fast now? Why wait for the July? I mean, it's a perfect opportunity. I live alone. I have no responsibility, no work. I mean, I can put a break to my coaching, business for some time. So I was like, yeah, let's go for it. Then did a 20-day water fast. Did open the front gate of my house, all alone in my house. Didn't even see a single soul for almost a month. And this fast was the most difficult thing that I did because of the symptoms that I dealt with. It was so much. It was like, raining hell on me every single day.
Yeah, so talk to me about that. What was the feeling like day to day? And you knew you had experience from the last one as well, so you knew how it was going to go in terms of the difficulty of it. Last time it was untested. This time you knew what you were walking into. So how did you feel more confident? And then it all backfired on you by the sounds of it. You didn't expect it to be so painful.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be painful because my first fast was smooth. Physically, it was smooth, and this fast was not at all. So yeah, let's discuss it. I will love to talk about the physical and the emotional aspect of this fast. But first, let's talk about the weight. How much weight did I lose? Because I'm sure people would love to know. People are scared about losing weight during the fast, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What would
It's
happen
one of
if?
the things that I'm scared of for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, because the ego wants to be, healthy, jagged, muscular. I'm sure that's what you would have in your mind, right? You want to be muscular and
For
build all the
sure,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I had to because I love doing calisthenics. I love getting strong, and of course I want to gain muscles as well. So before I started my this fast, I was around 50 kilos, and on last day, day 20th, I was at 41.2 kilos. So I lost more than 8
Wow.
kilos, and then during those 20 days. And the more weight you lose during your fast, it is a sign that your body is toxic and it is breaking down old tissues, right? We met Bea, right? Bea did a 35-day water fast, but she
Yes.
only lost 7 kilos.
Wow.
And in my 20 days, I lost more than 8 kilos. And that shows, how toxic my body was. So this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
how much weight I lost. And I am 5'6". So I was pretty skinny, after my fast.
So you went down to 42 kilos, did you say?
Yeah.
42.
41.2. Yeah.
Wow. 41.2. Wow.
Yeah. So I was pretty skinny. And about the physical symptoms, as my fast went on around probably after day 4, day 5, I was getting insane headaches. My sinuses would be so blocked almost every day. It would take me 2 hours in the morning just to get up from bed. It would be extremely hard. Of course, there was some mental and mental laziness as well. But physically, I was, drained most of the time. My body would need rest. I would only feel better after 5 or 6 p.m. when, the sun sets. I don't know what happens. Automatically, I start feeling a bit better. But during the daytime, it was really hard. And this fast, I promised myself that I would not distract myself with phones. So I spent most of the time with myself in front of my window. I would watch the trees, the sound of the birds most of the time. And but yeah, physically, as the fast went on, it went harder and harder and harder with the symptoms. I would get, insane headaches again. I would, call Jess and I would just cry and I would tell him, man, what is all this misery that I'm going through? Just do something about it. And yeah, and then I was so dehydrated during this fast. My body just needed more water, water, water all the time. So much dandruff and all the waste came out from the skin as well. So this was the physical, aspect of fasting, and the emotional aspect. Yes, this one was a whole journey. I went through so much because I spent a lot of time with myself, and during this fast is when I faced, bare loneliness. Like when you are scared, when you are scared of being lonely, how is that a feeling? Like we distract ourselves immediately when we are met with this feeling, right?
Mm,
When we are lonely, we get bored. So suddenly we're like, oh, let's do this work. Let's take mobile phone and do this, do that, etc. But when you have nothing to do, you're met with loneliness. It is a scary feeling.
mm.
So I release a lot of stuff. I like for hours and hours I cried, I screamed, closed all my windows, screamed in between pillows so that my neighbors wouldn't hear it. And yeah, man, it was just crazy. But the good thing is I was more connected with my family. I would call them, I would, video call them almost every day. And they know my journey. They're okay with what I'm doing. So they supported me during the fast as well. But honestly, the symptoms that I've been through, the suffering that I've been through, so it was, you can say, compared to an average individual, it was easy for me because I knew what I was doing, and I have dealt with so many symptoms in the past. So this was a little bit easy compared to, the things that I have suffered with.
Yeah.
So that's primarily it about this fast. And honestly, I would do it again. I'll probably fast after 3 to 4 months.
Oh, you do another one this year.
Yeah, I might in November, December, I might do another one because I've been gaining weight and I feel like my recovery is going better. If I do all the things that I'm doing right now for the next few months, I think I would be able to, do another fast
And
easily.
when you say the recovery's getting better, obviously you're gaining weight, you started eating a lot more now and building back your strength. But you're actually you've got better symptoms now, like your sinusitis is a little bit better again. Have you seen improvements in those areas?
Yes, and with this fast, yes, significantly. So if I talk about from the zero, like before the fast, overall there is around 40% improvements with sinusitis, and with the digestion, you can say 50% overall.
Wow.
So I can see that some of the shape in the stool, much better because if I was not absorbing food, obviously I wouldn't gain weight. I've gained weight only because I've started absorbing food better. It's
Hmm.
it's not perfect. It's probably gonna take 1 to 2 more fasts to get my digestion to be really, really good. But I'm really happy to see my progress, man. I'm really happy to see the way how I feel because I've never felt this good, and I cannot wait to release all the toxic waste that is inside, and then I'm just excited to see how I would feel compared to how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, I remember talking to you and Jeff earlier this year, and it was, I guess people don't really know what they're missing out on in terms of how they feel. You might think that you feel good, like I feel pretty good, right? But I haven't done a big water fast like that, and so the potential of how good I could feel might be up here, and I just don't know about that yet. So I'm really keen to do one this year as well. But are you planning to do one every year until you feel better, or are you just planning to do one every year because you feel like it's good practice? Talk me through that.
Uh, what I have set a goal for myself, and that is one long fast after every 8-10 months, or one every year, you can say, for the next 4 to 5 years.
Hmm.
Because I do want to feel healthy, and I've seen your decisions, your actions, everything gets much better when there are no obstructions in the flow of energy. Basically, our body is just it has blood, nerve, lymph, all fluids, and everything just flows. If there are obstructions in the flow of energy, then obviously we wouldn't feel good. And if our body is dehydrated, toxic, then there would be obstructions. So when we break that obstructions, I mean, we are limitless.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad you brought up the toxins because obviously a big part of what you do with your fasting is you're trying to detoxify. You're trying to get the toxins out. So does that mean you're much more conscious about the toxins going in as well? So I know that you're big on natural hygiene. How do you keep the toxins out? Because we live in a world that it's very, very hard to do that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, see, the body detoxifies every single day on its own. But the rate at which we put toxins in, it's significantly higher than what the body can detoxify. So what fasting does is, as long as you keep a healthy diet and lifestyle, it shifts that level. So the rate at which the body detoxifies becomes much better than what you put in the body, as long as you eat a healthy diet and maintain a good lifestyle.
Hmm.
So through fasting, we are trying to get rid of all the old stuff, the old waste, because eating alone cannot reverse all the damage that we have done to the body. Right? Eating fruit is a basic necessity that our species should be doing. But what really makes the difference when you are sick and when you are healthy is how clean your body is, if you're fasted or not, right? So there are many ways through which we put toxins in the body. And if we follow all the pillars of natural hygiene
Hmm.
or all just basic laws of nature, then you are making sure that at least you're not putting new stuff in the body. Sure, you can make a few compromises. Let's say when you travel, you go to the airports, you smell all the perfumes. You go to cities with so much pollution. You're making a bit of compromise, but it's all right. I mean, you cannot. This is the society that we have built, right? But what I do is what I try to prioritize is I've given a few pillars of my health, and that is clean air and water, rest, sleep, fasting, sunshine, physical movement, emotional health, and a fruit-based diet. That's it. So this is what I do. I sleep for 8 to 10 hours every day. I live, all surrounded by trees. And during my daytime, I wouldn't turn on my LEDs.
Hmm.
So I would spend most of my time outside in my front area. This is where I'm taking the call with you. And only in the evening for 2 hours I would turn on my lights, just to make my dinner or just to do a few things. So that's one thing, and I'm taking sunlight every day, like 30 minutes to 45 minutes at least, and some days even more. I play tennis, I'm being physically active. I don't use any soap, shampoo, conditioner. So all the toxins that people, take through these things, I'm not doing all that because I know that the outer only reflects what is going on inner. So if you
Mm.
cleanse your body internally, obviously your skin is going to be good. You wouldn't need all the things that we do,
Yeah.
right? So whatever I do right now, at least physically, I'm being fully conscious that I don't want to make any compromise with my health. So I'll tell you one thing. I went back to my home, which is in the north, and it's a city. I went there on 29th May, and I planned there to stay for like a month with my family. But it was such a polluted area, and the weather was extremely dry, hot, and my symptoms were getting triggered. I would get headaches, my sinuses, etc., all the things, and I was like, I came back. I just spent there for a week because I couldn't make compromise at this point. So at least for the next few years, all these pillars of health are going to be my top priority, and if any one of these gets compromised, I can immediately see.
Yeah. Right.
So because I know that to make more compromises with your health, you need to be at a certain level of health that your body can manage.
Mm.
If you are not, then you're going to suffer.
And so let's talk about the fruit then. So the fruit-based diet, and obviously what you and I believe is the food that is species specific to humans, right? And it makes the most sense that it's in its raw, natural state. It's attractive to look at. It's delicious to eat. We get it, but there's lots of people who may be trying to get onto the fruit and having a lot of issues because it's tough to give up cooked foods. It's tough to give up. A lot of us have these food addictions, and that without even knowing that of all this conditioning that we've had for such a long time. So let's talk about your journey into the fruit specifically, because you went raw vegan, and now I believe you eat predominantly fruit based. So how important is that? To keeping the body clean, and also it must be you must have access to quite a lot of good fruit there in India as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So where I live, it's all tropical area, and we do get good fruits. There are so many jackfruit trees in my area. I rarely buy jackfruit, from the market. If I go for a walk, I would find a tree drop jackfruit, let's say dropped in the morning, and then I would just take it, in my home. So there are so many jackfruits here. But yeah, like eating fruit is such an important thing. And yeah, like this is what our so-called experts don't really understand, that every species has a specific diet, and humans are eating all kind of food in this world. We have even eaten dogs and snakes. You see how ridiculous this is, right? And we are eating, all cooked foods, and people cook meat for 4, 6, 8 hours, and they are very happy eating. They think, oh, the more you cook it, the more tender it becomes, the more tasty, etc. Whatever it is. It is a simple thing. When we are hungry, all the whether you pick a fruit, whether you pick cooked foods, both of these foods are going to be tasty, right? When you're hungry. So the one thing is basically what we are tasting is we are tasting all the spices, salt. We are cooking our food. No animal who lives in their natural habitat cooks its own food. Only humans do that. If we are not attracted by a raw piece of grain, why do we have to process it? Why do we need, then we would need a curry, or we would make salt, and on all these things we would put just to fool our tongue, right? And but if you see our anatomy, we are primates, and all the other bonobos, apes, chimps, primarily they eat fruits. Like they are frugivore species, right? So we should be eating all fruits. It is so simple to understand. Again, the only thing is one has to keep their mind open. But if you see on Instagram, people are attacking, everybody who eats fruits, people who are big on protein, they would comment, like we need protein, 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 etc. All these kind of stuff. Again, all ignorant people don't keep their mind open. Just try it out for 3 weeks. 3 weeks, eat all fruits, um, and make a big salad at the end of the day. Keep it 80-10-10, low fat, and then you would see for yourself, compare how far you've come. I mean, sure, if you have like chronic symptoms and all these things, that is a different case. You would still have symptoms. But if, let's say, if you didn't have chronic health issues and you're just trying to experiment, how good you would feel physically, or even the clarity of your mind, on this diet, then do it for 3 weeks and you'd see it for yourself. And
Yeah.
eating good fruits, access to good fruit is so important. Of course, tropics can provide you, but in today's world, like because of globalization and all these things, you have fruit almost everywhere. And these are all excuses that people give, that, oh, I cannot find good fruit. But have you done research? Have you tried your best to find fruits around you? If you're not able to, then you say, if fruit is not in your area or not. But do the best you can, and then you see for yourself that you would be able to find fruit almost everywhere.
But I think there's a fear around if they do learn that this is the way, right? Like this fruit versus protein challenge, for example, if they see that fruit is able to build muscle, it challenges everything that they thought they knew about what they've been taught since they were young. And I think that there's a fear associated with that. There's almost a desire not to find the answer, because if they find the answer, then there's not really any excuse on what to do and how they need to feel. So you've got all these people looking at ways that they can feel better and look better and get healthier, but they're ignoring a pretty key component of what they need to do. That and the fact that we're just overeating, considerably as a society.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. See, people are suffering not because they are not eating enough fruit. It's the opposite. They're eating too much protein. It's gluttony. People are eating all the time, every single day, and the thing with salt is it makes you overeat. You're not really able to understand when you are satisfied,
Mm. Well,
and one can experiment
I
with it
found
as
that
well.
actually. I found that because when I've got onto this challenge, I'm now 100% fruit at the moment. So 100% fruit and giving up. So I was having a very occasional cup of coffee, and I was still having a bit of salt on my avocado. And when I gave that up, I mean, look, it doesn't. The avocado doesn't taste as good, but I'm so much more aware of when I'm hungry. I actually feel like I don't want to eat as much, but I'm trying to get 2,800 calories in at the moment, so I can keep making those gains in the gym, beat my brother. Um, but it's quite a fascinating experience when you feel it. You feel lighter. You feel better. You feel more in tune with your body as well.
Absolutely, 100%. I see with cooked foods and salt is what you're doing is you're just filling up your belly. You're just stuffing yourself. But when you go all raw and then if you eat salt, you would be able to understand that if you eat a big meal of salty cooked food after you have been eating all raw, you would still not be satisfied after that. Your body would still need something else. That is a clear sign that this food is not for us.
Mm, for sure. And no animal out in nature is salting their food.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
So,
Yeah, I mean, salt doesn't grow with the produce.
that's right. That's right. What about? I remember when we were talking in Bali, and you had this, and you brought this up with the jackfruits outside. But you had this awesome story about the jackfruit when you were driving your motorcycle one day. I would love for you to share that again.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like there are so many jackfruit, so many jackfruit trees here. And one day I was just, driving my scooty, and at the side of the road in front of me, a jackfruit fell down from the tree, and I was like, "What? Can it get any more perfect?" And I stopped my scooty at the side of the road like a kid, and I started eating.
How good.
Everybody who was just coming across they would stare at me, but I was like, "Do you want some? Do you want some?" I mean, it was so good, man. And it was probably the best jackfruit of my life so far because it was so fresh, and the flavors were extremely concentrated, and it was the creamy variety, which is my favorite one. So it was amazing. But like it has happened with me multiple times as well. Like if I went out, about to take a walk, I would see a tree drop jackfruit, which was just like super fresh, no flies, no ants on it. Maybe it just fell down an hour ago or a few minutes ago because there's so much abundance here.
Wow. And so, what other fruits are you? Because look, I'm at the moment I'm eating bananas, dates, avocados, watermelon, oranges. That's basically my core staple, of foods. And they're easy to get down and things like that. You're eating around 3,000 calories at the moment as well to get your strength back after your fast. So, How do you fill up your day?
Okay, so I have made a list of like specific fruits that I would eat for specific time according to what I get here. So for breakfast, my first priority is a solid papaya. If I'm, and there are some, like good papayas here, complete red from inside, super sweet, long with seeds. So if I'm able to find solid papayas, I would eat papayas for breakfast every single day. But I give options as well. If not papayas, then I would go for melons,
Hmm.
watermelon. If not watermelon, I would go for pineapple. Uh, if not pineapple, I would go for oranges. So I start my day with some hydration with fruits which are easy to digest, and I've made these four fruits. And for lunch, because I don't want to feel I don't want to keep eating all the time, and I have developed such a huge appetite. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, I could eat a lot. And lunch, I would either eat bananas or a smoothie with bananas and one more fruit,
Hmm.
like bananas and dragon fruit or bananas and mango, or I would eat a mono meal of mangoes or jackfruit because these are all dense fruits, and if I eat a lot, this can fill me up for at least 4 or 5 hours. I don't have to think about food at all. So I would eat a big meal for lunch, and for meal number three, I mean I eat 4 meals. For meal number three, if I am hungry, uh, according to what I see here right now, it's mostly what I would get is for snacking. If let's say if I ate papayas for breakfast, then I would eat watermelon for meal number three,
Hmm.
or I would eat the season for mangosteen, rambutan, pulasan has started here. So I would eat these foods, as a snack, and they're so good. And meal number four, I would go for a salad. Cucumber, zucchini noodles, lettuce, or yellow bell pepper, tomatoes, and just blended mangoes with half or one avocado. So, the fat goes last meal of the day. And I make sure not to overdo on fats because I can see the difference. If I eat more fats, I don't feel good the next day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How do you go eating that much though? I mean, because I mean, you were coming back from 41.5 kilos. I'm sitting at around 75 kilos at the moment. And to eat that much physically feels like a lot of food. So how do you go in terms of the volume? 'Cause you love to eat, right? It comes pretty naturally to you.
Yeah, I have been a big eater my whole life. I always had a huge appetite as far as I could remember, always. And people would be surprised, how much I could eat. I mean, you've seen me
I've
eating
seen,
billions, right?
I can vouch for it.
Yeah. So I could eat a lot, and it took me some time. After my fast, I had to be really conscious because even if I was eating to the point of satisfaction after this fast, I would get insane amount of headaches. My sinuses would be completely blocked. So for 10 days after my fast, I had even more symptoms than what I had during the fast because my body didn't want me to break the fast because it was detoxifying. So it takes time to adjust. So slowly, as I got more energy, as my body started recovering, as I was being more physically active, and as I was sleeping more, I was able to, get more appetite automatically. And there are three simple fundas I live by now: move more, eat more, sleep more. Simple. I
Super
sleep
simple.
whenever my body needs. Yeah, whenever my body needs a nap, I drop everything. I sleep. So I take 8 to 9 hours of stretch in the night, and then in the day, if I feel sleepy or if I feel like taking a nap, I would just take a nap. People don't realize how important the sleep is. I've heard so many athletes now talking about sleep. Roger Federer, he used to sleep 10 to 12 hours in
Wow.
24 hours.
Wow. It's a
Yeah.
real it's a completely different way to think about it because most people think about sleep as a something that needs to happen at the end of a day. It's not prioritized at all. I've actually been trying to prioritize 7 or 8 hours as a minimum now, but it's going to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time. But so many people, it's like after 8 p.m. I mean, I get up at 3:30 every morning, right? So I'm in bed by 8:30 generally, and I think after that time, what are you doing anyway? You're watching TV, you're eating bad foods, there's nothing really good that happens after that time, right?
Absolutely. And sleep doesn't need to it doesn't mean sleep in general. Like if I'm talking 8 to 10 hours, in those hours, 1 to 2 hours would be just on your bed with your eyes closed.
Mm,
That through that the body can also recover.
mm.
If let's say you are tired physically, so the good thing would be to close your eyes and go on the bed. But like people scroll, and then mentally they are active, then their body cannot recover. But if you're
Yes.
mentally resting, physically resting, that's also part of sleep and rest.
Awesome. Awesome. So let's talk about movement because you're very big on calisthenics, and obviously like one of your pillars is movement, and you want to make sure that you're moving more through the day. So what does your movement look like? Your tennis and calisthenics is obviously a big part of the life.
Not right now. What I've realized is if I am doing strength training now, it is taking time for my muscles to, recover. So my goal first is to work on my digestion, let it get better.
Hmm.
Fitness you can build any time in your life. There is no rush, right? So strength training is not my priority right now. My priority is just being more active, and I love playing tennis. And I play tennis every day when the weather supports. I mean, it's a monsoon season here. So whenever the weather supports, I play tennis for 90 minutes to 2 hours every day in the evening. And during the daytime, I would make sure that I wouldn't sit unnecessarily. I mean, I'm standing right now and taking a call with you. I have a walking belt. I mean, I walk in during the daytime, I walk around 3 to 4 hours. And then in the morning, I would do 30, 40 minutes of light mobility, a little bit of stretching or a little bit of strength training if I have to do, but not with the rings and all. With that, I'm not training currently. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And with that, what I've seen, this has helped me to increase my appetite. The more I move, the more I can eat, and then the more I can sleep. And you can clearly, if let's say, if for a day, if you've not eaten enough, you wouldn't be able to sleep properly. Your sleep
Yes.
would be reduced, and your next day, your physical activities would be compromised.
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
for example, you fasted, right? And you can see that when you fast, you don't get, a good stretch of sleep because you're
Hmm.
not eating. Your body doesn't need that much sleep,
Hmm.
but your physical activity also gets compromised. You cannot remain that much physically active if you were, when you're eating. So simple: move more, eat more, sleep more. That's it.
So awesome advice. And in terms of the calisthenics, because I know that there'd be a lot of people who, maybe looking to get into this lifestyle in terms of fruit-based diets. One of the big concerns or the fears is that they're not going to have enough energy, or they're not going to be able to be strong enough to, do pretty intense. I mean, calisthenics is pretty intense in terms of some of those movements, especially some of the ones that you showed me. I mean, those pistol squats still haunt me. But like, in terms of the calisthenics, obviously the diet and what you're putting into your body is super important to how you do your exercise. But calisthenics, talk me through why that's a really good option for people, especially if they're just starting out with a bit more movement.
Yeah, okay. So when I started my journey a few years ago, and I wanted to work on my fitness as well. To work on my fitness, I started during COVID. So I had a few options. I mean, of course, the gyms were all closed. So I installed a bar, in my backyard, just to do some pull-ups, and then I started learning about calisthenics, all the things that you can do with the body and how you can progress from one exercise to another. And what I've seen, it builds a really good functional strength that you can carry forward with the rest of the things that you do.
Hmm.
I mean, if you're doing calisthenics and if your goal is to, let's say, be a runner or to play tennis, that can also help. Of course, your training would be a little bit different if you're an athlete, but if you're doing strength training with calisthenics, the skills that you can transfer really helps you.
Hmm.
And there's a difference between you're just lifting weights and doing calisthenics because you're using your whole body, mostly compound movements, and it really builds a good functional strength. And it is such a fun thing to do because you don't have to lift weights and you can increase the difficulty of the exercise. For example, let's talk about pull-ups. If let's say you cannot even do a one pull-up, then use a resistance band. Build your strength, then get pull-ups. Then you can do, if you want to go towards weighted, then you can go towards weighted calisthenics, weighted pull-ups. Or if you don't want to go towards weight, then you can do typewriter pull-ups, then archer pull-ups, then you can build towards one arm pull-up. You can do muscle ups. I mean, there are so many fun things to do. Even with the squats, you can do body weight squats, and then you can build your strength to pistol squats. And there are sissy squats and so many different things that you can do. It is such a fun thing, and it is a never ending journey, to be honest. If you have to learn calisthenics skills of just pure body weight, 5 to 6 years you're good. You wouldn't need any weight. This is how long it takes to start building the strength and learn on the skills. But for the first 1 to 2 years, um, what I say to everyone is, if anybody is starting to learn calisthenics, first 1 to 2 years just learn the basics and build good enough strength. Pull-ups, push-ups, dips, rows, squats. Just build enough body weight strength. So at the end of 2 years, you can expect to do 15, 20 pull-ups in one set, and maybe some one-arm push-ups, a good amount of dips, 25, 30 dips. If you've done that for 1 to 2 years, then you move towards all the other skills. But
Awesome.
it's such a fun thing to do.
And how can somebody start? If someone had never really done anything active, or if they have, but they're looking to increase their strength and they want to use, their bodies to help them, their body weight to help them, what's the best way to start?
Okay, so when I started, I followed a few guys on YouTube, and there are a few channels, which are really good, like lots of free information available. And the first is Fitness FAQ, Daniel Wadnell. This guy is from Australia,
Oh yeah.
and he's the best in the business, when it comes to calisthenics. And the second is Saturno Movement. His name is Gabo Saturno, and again he does yoga, flexibility, and calisthenics as well. So these two channels, if one starts doing and learning, but also there is a good free resource on Reddit. It's called I forgot, RR Reddit recommended routine for body weight. It is a completely free and has given every single thing that you need to start learning calisthenics: progressions, warm up, your splits, upper body, lower body, or if you want to do full body 3 times a week. And you can just learn so many things. And because I started on my own, I started exploring everything, whatever resources I could find, and this was the best. And one more which I really loved: if you want to train as an athlete on your own with just your body. So I'm sure you would have heard about Athlean X, that guy, Jeff Cavalier, right?
Yes. Yep.
So he has his program of pure body weight, and that is Athlean Zero. I did it for like 6 weeks, and it's a 6 week program of, I mean, it will make you shredded. If you do it for 6 weeks consistently, if you eat good, it's just pure body weight like an athlete. Your stamina, endurance, strength, every single thing is going to improve, and that is like a beast level program
Also, well, I might
just
have
for
to jump
six
onto
weeks.
that so I can beat my brother.
Absolutely. I mean, when you go,
So
let's
I'm
say,
getting all these tips from everybody.
absolutely. I would share it with you. You can check it out, and I mean, it's such a fun thing to do. Like for 6 weeks. just your own body, and training like crazy. I mean, I cannot do it right now. I'm not that healthy right
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
but in
yeah.
future, I would go back to that routine for sure. Because when I did it for 6 weeks, and let's say if I stopped training for 2 to 3 months after that, let's say I didn't train consistently, I would still that be pretty strong, pretty flexible, and be able to move my body and play tennis for hours, even when I'm not training consistently. I was surprised. So I believe that if you do body weight, um, your body restores more strength, more endurance than if you do, just lift weights and if you do isolate movements in the gym.
Mm. Now, I'm definitely keen to look into it and give it a go, and maybe add it into my routine. What about travel, mate? Are you going to be traveling anytime soon? When are you coming down under to Australia? We're going to see you in Australia
I would
anytime
love
soon.
to. I would love to, man. I would love to. But what I've seen right now is traveling is a little bit stressful for me in terms of my symptoms.
Yeah,
So I would probably not go to any retreats or travel for the next at least 1.5 year. I feel like if I do one more fast and then wait for some time, then my body would be better in terms of taking again the compromise on health, because when you're traveling you're making certain compromises, right? If you're
for
not
sure.
fully healthy, it's a stressful situation for your body. I
No,
would for
that's
sure definitely Australia is in my list for sure.
it's on the list. That's good. Well, we'll have to end up staying in touch this way, or otherwise the next year and a half while you're getting yourself right, and then hopefully we can catch up again in person very soon. But Hitesh, thank you so much for jumping on the channel today. That was amazing. Like, I love hearing your story, and I'm sure there's so many people out there as well who would appreciate, how much you've been through, and you just sharing your experience. It's pretty special to be able to hear that. So thank you so much.